Now, let me say this. Before I was a Christian, yeah, I'll just say it that way. Before I was a Christian, because here's why I say that. I bared no fruit in my teenage years that I was even a Christian. If you talk to my dad, he would argue with you. He would say I was a Christian as even like a child, and then I turned away from the faith. But I knew my heart in my rebellious years, and I did not love Jesus, and I loved sin with a passion. And so for me, when I read the scriptures, it's the other way around. Like, you love Jesus with a passion, and you hate sin. Where I loved sin, and I don't want to say I hated Jesus, but I definitely had no affections for him, only judgment, and I believed in him, but I was afraid of him. And so it was sort of like Martin Luther in his early days. That was my view of God. It was like, if he comes back, I'm in trouble. Like, that was my view of him. I didn't want to pray to him. I didn't want to, when I was I did various forms of drugs, and one of them was LSD. That's the kind where you trip and you see things. And one of the people who were sort of schooling me in the ways of drugs, he was like, when you take acid, don't think about God, whatever you do. He's like, because you'll have a bad trip. And so that was like my attitude. It's like, all right, let's not think about God. Let's, as Romans 1 says, suppress the truth in unrighteousness. That's what I did all the time. You want to bring up God? Let me just suppress that, push that away. I don't want to think about that. I'd come to church, feel guilty. And so I don't think I was a Christian. And I hated to read. This is where it fits in. I never read a book all through high school. Cliff notes, cheating. I was one of those guys who, I was an expert in cheating. Bic pens, they're white. I'd get white paper, write little tiny small answers, and I'd spin the Bic pen and cheat on tests. For real, like 50 answers on one pen. And the teacher'd come and I'd be able to just do this. I was an expert in cheating just to get away from not having to read. Hi. Who are you, buddy? Is he John the Baptist? Oh, Iron Man. Okay. No, I meant the other dude. Oh, okay, cool. Indiana Jones. All right. So, as I was saying, I'm not joking at all. I despised reading. And I was the worst at reading comprehension. You guys remember those tests from school where you get like a paragraph and then you'd have to write a paragraph about what it was about? Not only was I the last in class when I actually did do grade school, not only was I the last to finish those, but I never understood what I was reading. It was weird. And so I'd watch movies. This even took place with movies. I'd watch movies and not get the plot, but just remember certain scenes. I remember seeing movies that I've seen in the past, and now I totally get it. I'm like, they're pushing communism. I totally get it, right? Before, I totally didn't even, I was like, oh, that was a cool fight scene. That was about all really strange. Now, when I became a Christian, God, the way I'll put it is he opened my eyes, and he gave me a hunger to learn and a hunger to understand. And so now I love reading. If I have spare time, email's a burden to me. I don't want to surf the web. I just want to read. Just leave me alone and let me read a little bit. I love learning. I love reading. I love listening to teachings. I love watching preachers preach on DVDs. I love sitting through messages that are great. I love having theological conversations with guys over coffee and tea or whatever. I just love to learn. And before I was a Christian, I hated it. That's how I know this is definitely a spiritual gift and not just a natural gift of teaching. Are there non-Christians who teach well? Yeah, that's a natural ability. We call that common grace, by which God just gives people gifts. Some people, you get these motivational speakers who are, they're phenomenal communicators. They motivate people. They sell out stadiums, but yet they're not Christians. And they don't have the spiritual gift of teaching. So there is a difference. There really is. Okay, what the gift of teaching is, it's the spiritual ability by the power of the Holy Spirit to take in information, understand it, by grace apply it, but then be able to give it to others in a way they get it and then they can apply it. Here's where I need to improve as a teacher. Okay, I don't want to say real good, that's sort of arrogant. I'm good at studying, understanding, and then giving it back, as information. What I need to improve on is, here's how you live this. Okay, I'm all right at that, but I know I need to improve on that. Here's how you live this thing. This is abstract truth is just that. If it doesn't affect your life, so what? It's the idea of, there was a Christian girl who I was talking to, and she was in our class, and another one of our Christian girlfriends was just cutting up, and this girl like knows the Bible well, and this other girl was saying to me, like, she knows so much. How could she be living like this? And really, it's this. It doesn't matter how much you know. If you're not living it, so what? Okay? You could know all kind of strategies about how to get out of debt, how to pay your debts down early, how to invest your money. If you don't do anything with that, it's just useless knowledge. Okay? And so you might know a lot about the Bible, and so what? Because you're not doing anything with it. Okay, that's, I think, the danger of teachers is learning, just learning and having the knowledge, but not doing. Remember Jesus said at the end of Matthew 7, he who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice, remember that? Is like a man who built his house on the rock. Right? He who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice. So I take that to mean we could like sit and listen and learn and not do anything, and we're like the guy who built our house on the sand, and the waves came and the winds came and crash. And in that metaphor Jesus was using, he was talking about your life. Like, your life will stand on the rock when you put Jesus' teachings into practice, not if you know Jesus' teachings. You see the difference? And so pray for me that I get good at saying, here's how you do this. Here's how you do this. All right, so let's look at some passages. Yeah, ask a question. That's okay. Hey, guys.
Isn't it possible for some people to be able to... You guys aren't dressed up or anything?
No, sorry. No. You got your red boots on, though.
I do.
Oh, nice. What's up, dude? Good.
Isn't it possible to extract this, what we're learning here, and apply it to life, without you
Yes.
telling us?
Yeah. Mike's? Nice. We're in Romans 12, if you want to follow along with us. We're in Romans 12, 7b, which is the gift of teaching. That's what we're doing tonight. Mike just asked the question, is it possible, without me sort of saying, here's how you live this, like giving you application? He said, is it possible to take in the truth, understand it, and then put it into practice on your own? What do you think? Yeah, I think so too. And so there is value, and so here's what A.W. Tozer said. A.W. Tozer was an Alliance pastor, great sort of mystical theologian. I mean, this guy would spend hours on his face in prayer, that kind of mystical, just like wanted to be in God's presence. He said something like this, and I'm not going to quote him exactly because I don't have it memorized, but here's basically what he said. He said, 1,000 or more of your problems can be solved by having the right view of God, rather than me solving each one of your 1,000 problems. So here's another way to say that. If you have the right and true view of who God is, that will automatically solve a lot of problems, where if you just had the wrong view of God and you got all these problems, now we're going to deal with each one of your little problems. I believe that. And so part of the gift of teaching is being like, look, this is the truth. This is who God is. One of the big things for me is like when I got God's sovereignty, that just blew my world up and made everything like lock into place for me. Okay? God's sovereignty is the idea that he is literally in control of all things. It's when Jesus said in Matthew that not a bird falls, right, without the Father willing it. And all the hairs of your head are numbered. Like that kind of stuff. God being in control. So if something bad happens, okay, Satan didn't get the upper hand here. He's not in control. God has allowed this for a good purpose. And that really helps a lot. So for me, when I grasp sovereignty, and I'm still trying to grasp it, I got tons of books on the issue, and I'm thinking about it all the time. But that really just helped me a lot. Having the right view of who God is, his being in control, his ruling and reigning as God, his authority, and his demons running to him, screaming in terror. Okay, that's the enemy, but yet they are terrified of our God and who lives in us. Okay, that helps a lot, right? And so just knowing certain truths about God really does help living. So there is some stuff that yes, Mike, to answer your question, just the knowledge of it does help a lot. It really does. All right.